Hello everyone, my name is Jonathan Brooks and I'm another one of the members of our instructional design team here at CSUSB. Today I want to talk a little bit about the Blackboard Grade Center and introduce some tips and tricks to help you in your courses. The Grade Center can be a little complex, so for this short 10-minute video, I'm just going to do a brief introduction and talk through some of the issues that we commonly see. But if you are interested in learning more about the Blackboard Grade Center or any of the topics brought up here today, please check out our semester workshop schedule or make an appointment to meet with any one of us individually. All right, so let's start with the very basics. Why should we use the Blackboard Grade Center? There is no direct connection in terms of the grading in Blackboard and the official campus grading of PeopleSoft. So the grades that you input in Blackboard do not automatically get submitted as final grades. So as a faculty, there is no requirement for you to use the Blackboard grading. However, using the Grade Center in Blackboard helps you and your students have a central location and a near constant update on how they're doing in the course. It also allows the students to easily access any feedback you may have provided them from previous assignments, all in a central location. Before we go any further, I want to point out that the faculty view of the Grade Center is very different than the student view. Our faculty Grade Center reads a lot like an Excel sheet. There's a lot of rows and columns. We see all of the students and all of the assessments. The students access an area called My Grades, and this section will only display grade content that is relevant to them as a user. And if we click on the grades here, they can either access it from the Tools menu by going to Tools and My Grades, or we can create a tool link and bring it out to the navigation bar like I've done here. But you'll see this is a very different view than what we're going to see when we go into the full Grade Center. It's just important to know that the student view and the teacher view, or the faculty view, is a little bit different when we're talking about grades. As an instructor, we're going to access the Grade Center from this course management part of the course. And if we go down here under Grade Center, I've already opened it up, but if we expand this, we can see a few options that we have here. The first option that we have is the needs grading section, and this is a good area to see only the options that need your attention, things that have been submitted but have not been graded yet. It's a good way to kind of filter your view a little and not get overwhelmed by the entire Grade Center, allowing you to kind of focus your efforts only on maybe a specific assessment or specific students and groups. It's a really great tool to take care of anything that's needing your attention right away. Another organizational tool that we have at our disposal here with the Grade Center are what are called smart views, and these are filters similar to the needs grading, except this can be done regardless if the assessment's been graded or not, right? So for the needs grading, it will only populate there if you have not graded it. And once you've graded it, it's not going to show up in that section anymore. But if we wanted to filter that, we still could do that with these smart views and filter it to do very much a similar thing. Show us only one assessment, one assignment, one group of students. These two are set up by default for assessments and tests, or I'm sorry, assignments and tests, but you can customize these to almost any criteria you want. Again, this could be to look at a specific type of assignment, whether it be tests or assignments like this. It could be to look at performance on a specific test. So if you wanted to look at all of the students who maybe scored 60% or lower on a midterm so that you can see how they're doing on the rest of the course, things like that. That's something you can do with smart views, or you can just use it to look at specific groups of students. If you have maybe two sections combined into one course, smart views can be a pretty quick and easy way to only be viewing one section at a time and not getting them mixed up. We're not going to go too much into building that in this video, but it is something that you have at your disposal. One thing to point out is it does not actually change the Grade Center. So it's just a filter. Think of it like putting a filter on a search. All of the columns will still exist even if you don't see them. You're just looking at kind of a truncated view of it. Okay, so now let's dive into the full Grade Center. So full Grade Center. From the full Grade Center, you can see all of our current assessments, assignments, and manually created columns that we've got across the board here. Before we go into how to create a manual column, I usually suggest when I'm working with faculty, before we even get to this page, before you even open up Grade Center, I really recommend you build your course out. Create all of the assessments, create the assignments, create the course structure, The reason why I suggest that is with Blackboard, anything you give a point value to, anything that has the ability to be graded, and this could be things like a discussion board, this could be things like a journal, a wiki, an assignment, a test, anything that we can grade in Blackboard. If we give it a point value, Blackboard will create the column for us automatically in the Grade Center. And so by building our course first, before we even try to get into the Grade Center, we do two main things. One, we do a lot of the heavy lifting already because Blackboard does it for us. So rather than building from the bottom up, we're doing more of an organization. But the second thing is, often if a faculty builds out their Grade Center first and then proceeds to build the course in Blackboard, you can get a duplication of columns. And it's really important to know which column is an automatic column generated by Blackboard and which column is a manual column generated by the user, because one of them is going to populate with grades as the students submit, the other is not. So it's really important that we know which one's which, and duplications can make things difficult. So at the top here, we do have some options for creating columns. This is creating manual columns. And just for clarification, all I mean when I say a manual column is that it was created by the user and not by Blackboard. So it's not tied or attached to anything, and it will not populate grade information automatically. An easy way to tell if a column is manual or automatic is to click the Blackboard menu button next to that column. And if you have the ability to delete it, it is a manually created column. If it is attached or tied to something in Blackboard, like this assignment one is here, you'll notice I do not have the option to delete. Blackboard removes that from my ability, so I cannot accidentally get rid of any scores or student information, anything like that. So if you click on the menu button and you see the ability to delete a course or to delete a column, it's likely not tied to anything in the course, and it's a manually created column, so it's pretty safe to delete. In order to delete the other ones, you would have to remove the assignment or the placeholder that lives in the actual course. Okay. The difference between these two here, the created column is just going to be a normal column that you can populate with information. That's what this participation column is. The calculated columns give us a few more options. This is generally where you're going to create columns used for calculating totals or averages, things like that. The major distinction between these two, between a normal created column versus a calculated column, is the calculated column is drawing on information in other spots in the Grade Center. So you cannot directly edit any calculated column. So for example, this total column here is a calculated column, and if I click in this box, I cannot add any numbers. Doesn't matter what I type or what I do, no numbers will be added into this box directly. It cannot be edited directly. Whereas a normal column, like this participation column, can be. And if I click in that box, I can give myself a 10 there. And by doing so, this will update that calculated column. So when I hit enter, you'll see that 10 get transferred over into the total column. Right there, right? So the calculated columns cannot be directly edited. You can only edit the normal columns, the calculated columns. In order to edit them, you have to edit the rest of the Grade Center. So that's just a really important distinction to make. Okay. So the Manage tab. The Manage tab up here is going to be where you can control and set up some of the more advanced options. Things like grading schemas, categories, the smart views we talked about earlier. But here you can also use the column organization option to be able to view your entire Grade Center and make changes to the columns. So if I click on that, you can change the column's visibility, you can change what grading period or category that column belongs to, and you can also view any due date or point value information, though it's important to note you cannot edit the due date or point value information from this screen. They would have to be done from the actual assignment itself or from the column information, but not from here. But you can reorganize using these arrows here to move things around and place them in the order that you'd like. While you may not need to spend a lot of time in this section of the Grade Center, it is one of the first places to start for organization and potential troubleshooting. If you're having some trouble, you don't think the Grade Center is calculating like it should, this is generally the first place that I look. Something as easy as adding up all of our total points over here and making sure that they equal the same total that we have here is a quick way of judging, okay, are all my columns correctly calculating the way I intend to? With that, that kind of concludes this short introduction into the Blackboard Grade Center. Again, it is very much an introduction. There's a lot more going on in the Grade Center than what we've covered here today. And if you are curious, I would suggest checking out our ATI website, which I've shared here, where you can see a list of all of the workshops we have scheduled for the semester, as well as schedule an appointment with any of the designers. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.